Is your cold making it hard for you to get to sleep and leading to a bad morning? Switch to Mucinex Night Shift for fast, powerful nighttime multi-symptom cold and flu relief. Mucinex Night Shift fights your worst nighttime symptoms to help you get to sleep and wake up ready to go. Mucinex Night Shift. It's comeback season. Use as directed.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation. Oh man, I can tell you, I'm not a scientist. I do know a few though. I have stayed in a Holiday Inn Express from time to time as well. With this knowledge, I can tell you it's mother-loving hot outside. How are you dealing with the heat of summer? What is your go-to for respite? Send us a message on any of our socials or a voice message here on Anchor, and we will put you on the next episode. Alright, so in the military, we are subjected to numerous types of leaders. There are those who micromanage and want to be like a helicopter mom, and then those who are done and do not care anymore. And then there's a ton of those in between the two. In the real world, we have managers and supervisors who are the same way. I always thought it was up to me to make the next me and beyond. If someone I had the honor of leading moves up and beyond where I was, it is amazing to me. It is awesome. I have done my job. People think this is a failure and laughable moment on the leader's part, while others who are actually leaders understand it is just the way it is supposed to be. If you are growing a business and want to lead your employees to greatness, our next guest is here for you. So without further ado, let's give a great Misfit Nation welcome and get Claire Chandler on the line. All right, welcome to the Misfit Nation, Miss Claire Chandler. How are you doing today, Claire?
Doing great, Rich. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Glad you're able to come on and spend some of your time with us. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your story and how you got started in your venture?
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll try to keep this down to a 20-minute answer, but yeah. So I'm a reformed corporate employee. Some might call me a corporate survivor, but I spent close to 20 years in corporate America after college. After swearing, by the way, I was never going to go into corporate. It wasn't, the right fit for me. Blah blah blah. But that's where the opportunities were. And so I had a storied career and very sort of multifaceted. Worked for a couple of different companies. Had a couple of career changes within those companies. Had the blessing to be able to do that. Everything from communications and branding and marketing to customer relations. And then the last several years of my corporate career, I was in human resources. And it gave me an opportunity to sort of try my hand in a lot of different aspects of human resources. And I found that my love was around talent management, leadership development, increasing employee engagement through ways that employees could really lean into and leaders could enjoy. And so I decided to make a business out of it. So I left corporate America in 2011, kind of dabbled for a couple of years, sort of getting into my groove and really figuring out what I wanted to focus on. And then 2 years later, in 2013, I formed my company, Talent Boost. And a lot of people confuse that name. They see a name like Talent Boost and they just assume that I'm a recruiting firm. And while I do help some companies attract talent more effectively and consistently, really what I focus on is helping businesses from the leadership level on down, really grow and scale the right way, remove their bottlenecks, help entrepreneurs, get from point A to point B to point C, even with the right financial backing to kind of grow and scale their businesses the right way as well. So I'm all about leadership and growth and positive employee experiences.
Nice. And yes, the human interaction helped you with human resources to see what people really needed as they were going through your companies at those times. And you were able to identify shortfalls for many items, I suspect.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's an old joke that says human resources is neither human nor resourceful, and unfortunately, there's a wide swath of human resources that kind of go into it for the right reasons, but quickly kind of fall into this mentality that, hey, we're behind the scenes, we're a corporate support function, we don't really interact with the employees. And the most successful and the most fulfilled human resources professionals that I've come across really embrace their role in helping to build and foster more positive relationships between employees and leadership and the companies that they belong to. So to your point, there's a very human side to business that I think human resources and everybody in an organization can better embrace.
Definitely. In my first grown-up job out of the Army, I stayed there 2 years, just over 2 years, and just past my 2-year mark, my human resources reached out to me and thanked me for my 1 year of service. That showed me a great divide in what I did and what they thought I did. So.
Yeah, and it's too often the case, right, that there's this massive disconnect, and I have certainly seen it through my travels. There's this kind of disconnect between human resources and the employees that they support. So it's a bit unfortunate. It can be corrected if people are just a little bit more self-aware and kind of willing to lean in a little bit more to their journey.
Right, definitely. And you said you like to help entrepreneurs. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that have been on the show, a lot of veterans that got out of the military and started their own businesses, or even some that are still in the military and are starting their business as they lean towards getting out. What's some things you can help them with?
Yeah. So, entrepreneurs are, and I count myself as one, I'm sure you do too. We are a strange breed, right? We kind of, from the outside looking in, we're living the dream, we're working for ourselves, we're calling our own shots, we're, building the world we want to play in. But it can be scary and it can be, sort of lonely. I talk to a lot of people at all sides of the spectrum of entrepreneurial efforts, everybody from starting from the people that are where I was 10 years ago, in a company, in a full-time job, and sort of debating, is now the right time? Am I cut out for being an entrepreneur? What might that look like? Who would pay me to do what I do, so to speak? And then all the way to the other side of the entrepreneurial spectrum where, there are folks that I've talked with and worked with and helped that have built a really successful business as an entrepreneur, and they're now ready to take their business from, kind of their current point B to a point C. And maybe they need a little bit of help with that. Maybe they need, maybe it's time for them to seek some funding from private equity or venture capitalists, or even, someone else in the investment community, to take that idea and the story that they've started and really turn that page and build just an amazing new chapter. And everybody in between, right? Those who are hiring their first employee in the business that they've started, those who are expanding into, different geographic regions or different business lines. There are so many points along that journey where people can get stuck and people can make the big mistake of thinking they've got to figure that all out on their own. So that's part of what I help entrepreneurs with.
Nice. And I just here in the last year with COVID and everything like that, a lot of people had, say, mobile businesses or just online businesses. And now as we opened up here, a lot of them are moving to brick and mortar and keeping some of their mobile stuff as well, but they're having to hire those first employees. And I see them with that challenge now because right now, a lot of people don't really want to go back to work because they're getting money for doing nothing on other aspects. But the ones they are getting, it's a challenge for them to bring in and actually, I guess, train them up on what they're supposed to be doing and build that trust as they go.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was just having this same conversation with a client earlier today. That there's kind of these two real challenges that just about every business in any industry is facing right now. And the first is trying to attract new talent into their workforce for the reasons that you just mentioned. Right now, because we are hopefully coming through toward the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of COVID really impacting our lives. But we've still got this federal stimulus and these other, unemployment where the state rules are being relaxed. I know here in New Jersey, the requirement that you show evidence that you are actively looking for a job in order to continue to qualify for unemployment, that requirement has been waived right now. And I know New Jersey's not alone in that. So the intent of that was to help people through a very difficult time by relieving some of the pressure while they're coping with other things, health and family, and all of these impacts to our work. But unfortunately, the longer that stays in place, that requirement is waived, and the longer that the federal stimulus makes it really attractive to stay home, a lot of businesses and a lot of industries are suffering, in terms of attracting people to the fold. And that's only the front end of the challenge. The back end, of course, is how do we keep them? How do we engage them? How do we train them up? And how do we put the right people into the right roles where they can contribute their best, enthusiastically do that, and help us as an organization move closer to our mission? So it's a dual challenge, and it is a very painful kind of headache right now for a lot of companies.
Well, I'm sure. And the challenge is you have to be strong. And like you said earlier, you can't do it yourself. You got to realize you can't do it yourself. You have to have that team behind you. It takes that village to make a business grow. And once they get the mentality that they have assets out there that can help them, like yourself and others, they'll probably be more successful. When they try to do it on their own, it's going to be like running into a wall constantly every day.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, part of the issue with that, and I know I face this as well, but whether you're a solopreneur or you're, the head of a massive company, you're in the middle of your own forest, right? And it is always helpful to have a situation or to find an environment or to even find a mentor or a coach or a sounding board that enables you to talk things out loud. Because I know for me, there are sometimes, if I'm not working with a client or on a podcast like this, or doing something where I'm interacting with another human being, you spend a lot of time in your own head. Yes, I talk to myself, right? So there's just this situation where you start to get enamored with your own ideas, but you also start to put up kind of psychological and mental barriers between where you are and where you want to get to. And so that is as true for the solopreneur as it is for the CEO of, a global corporation. And so, the key to kind of getting through your own forest is talking with somebody else who can see more clearly where you're stuck and how you can keep moving forward, toward the business that you're meant to have and the type of leader that you're meant to be.
Right. And I started this in February doing this podcast. And at first I was just doing it on my own and thinking it can't be that hard. How hard could this be?
I need a microphone and a decent Wi-Fi signal, right?
Exactly. That's all I need. What more could there be to this? I have all these friends that I served with. I can just call them. We can talk about Army stories all day. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about the back end. Who wants to listen to that? The same people I'm interviewing will be the ones listening to it. I need to grow that audience. So I joined groups on Facebook, podcast groups and such, to just bleed information from them, find out what they're doing, and become a sponge. And now I have 3 microphones because the first 2 I didn't like, and I just keep buying more instead of selling the old ones. And then, and now I've reached out to many different people to talk to from all different genres and all different ways of life. So I'm building that broad base of hodgepodge of topics that I actually wrote in my initial statement on my podcast, a hodgepodge topics. but I didn't really think it all the way through.
You know, it's amazing though. What you just said is pure gold. So I hope your listeners rewind and really listen to what you just did, because you know, so many entrepreneurs, and I know I fell victim to this in the early years as well. You know, I mentioned earlier, we can get enamored with our own idea, right? We can get sort of in love with, wow, I've got this offering and I'm just going to bring it out to the world. And more often than not, it's met with crickets, because we, you know, put together a package, a framework, a program, an offer that we've convinced ourselves, you know, we love it, and therefore the too. And what you did and what you just described is exactly what I finally figured out is the right way forward. And a lot of entrepreneurs will benefit from hearing that, which is go out and study the market, right? If you have an idea, whether it's for a podcast, for a book, for an offering, for even the focus of your business, go out and do some due diligence. And, you know, some of the ways that you can do that, you just mentioned, join some Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, read up on the industry that you want to serve, the type of offering you might want to get involved in and apply your talents to. Start connecting with people, not for the purpose of selling or pitching them, but for learning from them, right? What are they struggling with? What does their forest look like? And how are they getting their way to the other side? How are they navigating that? If we spent more time, we being entrepreneurs, studying the reality that is out there, we would much faster and more clearly figure out our place in that universe and how we can help.
Definitely. Part of my first year out of the military, I didn't work at all the first year. It's not that I didn't want to, it's just that I kept getting judged based on my career because I served so long. So most businesses thought that I wanted a high salary or I wanted X. They never asked me those questions. They just assumed. So I was trying to figure out what's wrong with me the whole time. I was looking at my resume. I had other people look at my resume. I bought the book, What Color is My Parachute, to figure out what color my parachute was, what I was supposed to do.
Yep.
What am I supposed to do with my hands? What am I supposed to do with my adult life here? And then I just realized it's not me. It's just a perception. So I had to go into things telling people, I do not want this. I want a job. I want a purpose. I just life. And that's when I finally wound up in a position where I worked for 2 years in a nonprofit, actually mentoring other veterans as they were going through the same situation I went through.
You know, and you're bringing up a big pet peeve that I have about business and their attitude toward military veterans. Just about every company on the planet, at least in the U.S., talks a good game about respecting the military and giving preference to veterans. But in fact, more often than not, their experience, the experience that they foster is the experience that you had, which is they don't quite know what to do with you. Right? Because you didn't go the traditional track. And so your resume of military experience is not, we are not able from the employer side to do an apples to apples comparison between your military experience and, you know, a candidate that isn't coming from the military, has more of a, you know, school to job to career kind of a track. And every time I come across a business who makes that mistake, and you used a very key word a minute ago, you said assumption. When they make that assumption that because Richard came through the military, he has this worldview, he has this set of skills, and he has this set of expectations, and we don't ask and we don't clarify, it's a huge mistake. And a lot of companies are missing out on that talent. And the other reason that they are missing out is, in my experience, and I know your Army, I am married to a devil dog, so he still considers himself a Marine, right? Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Always.
So like the thing that is in common in my experience of among any military veteran is, and you use the word purpose, I always, you know, I kind of refer to it as mission, but you're so mission focused. Right? You came up through an experience in the military where everything was about the mission. And it didn't necessarily mean while you were on deployment. It could be during boot camp. It could be during, you know, training exercises. What is it that we are sitting here right now in this moment to accomplish? And I think employers, rather than making assumptions about your worldview or what you may not know, they need to lean in and embrace the fact that military veterans uniquely and deeply appreciate and honor a mission. And so that to me is a huge disconnect that the smart organizations really need to start paying closer attention to.
I agree 100%. It took my former leader of mine to get me the job I'm in now, where I'm back training soldiers, and I love it, and I have a lot of fun. But I get to go home every night.
Yeah,
I can keep them out in the woods, and I go home at night. And then I get to do the podcast on my time, which is basically any time after I'm done with them. And then I also still pursuing education, going for my PhD right now. So I'm keeping myself busy and making myself more marketable for my next adult life, I guess, as a professor or something, as I move forward.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
My wife, when I started the podcast, she said, yeah, like you had 8 extra hours a week to do that since you were going to school, going to work, and now you want to do this. Sure, I'll see you in bed, I guess.
Yeah. You don't like to be bored. That's for sure.
Definitely not. And I guess I got to keep moving all the time, and it drives her nuts. But it's a labor of love between us after 26 years. So.
Yeah, you know what? My husband's the same way. He will not sit for dinner. He has to stand. He doesn't sit until the end of the day, and that's when he is ready to go to sleep. I think that's just, I don't know if that's the military in him or that was just why he gravitated toward the military, because that kind of lifestyle was just, suited him. But it's kind of it's a quirky little thing about him. He stands to eat.
Hopefully he doesn't eat like he's still in the Marines, like his last meal.
No, fortunately he's grown out of that, but a lot of the other kind of mission orientation and discipline are still there.
I think we all wind up keeping a lot of that ingrained in our heads, and gets us more in trouble at home than it does at work. I'll get a task, my wife will tell me something, and I'll run with it, and I'll do it, and I won't do it to her standards because it's done my way and fast, and she wants it perfect, and I'm not a gardener. I won't make something perfect in the garden.
Yeah.
And I believe that translates in the corporate world. I believe that a lot of it, besides the assumptions, they think that we're going in there to try to take their jobs at some point. And that should be the assumption with anyone, not just a military person. If you hire me, you should be preparing me to take your job in the future anyway. And either it's this week, next year, or whatever. You shouldn't have that fear when you're hiring someone, because that's your job, is to prepare the person, lead them to the next level.
That is so right on. I mean, and if more companies understood that, and leaders at every level really understood that, if a company is going to survive and evolve and remain competitive and grow, it has to continually replenish the talent supply and make it better than it was yesterday, right?
Right.
Which just reminded me, my husband has a saying on his whiteboard, which is in our kitchen. It says, "The only easy day was yesterday." I'm sure you relate to that as well, right? In your military training, but it's true. And I think companies, some companies just think, well, once we have this talent and we fill these holes in terms of, job vacancies, we're going to be good. And we're just going to then, keep that machine going. And the death of any company is, the stronghold or stranglehold on the status quo. You cannot stay in place. You have to constantly be moving forward. And I don't care what industry you're in, whether you consider yourself an innovative business or a more standard, quote unquote, kind of conventional business, you have to evolve, you have to grow, and you have to give your people a reason to keep, giving as much of their energy and talent and brain power as possible. Otherwise you die, you lose competitive edge, you lose market share, you lose engagement. And therefore, all the things that go with that, you lose productivity, you lose profitability, and your company as a whole loses the will to live and to, grow and scale and outbeat the competition.
And you lose that talent that you tried to keep down as they seek other opportunities. you make it marketable so they want to stay or beneficial for them to stay, they'll stay forever because it feels like family working there. Once you start keeping them pushed to the side or giving them menial tasks, they don't want to be there anymore.
And that's why that is that dual challenge, right? Of not just attracting people into your organization, especially right now with all the constraints we talked about, but it is even harder and even more critical to figure out a way to retain talent. And the way you retain talent is not by keeping them down and chipping away at their self-worth so that they're so, afraid to leave because they could only survive working for you, right? We have to figure out a way for organizations to get better consistently and sustainably at attracting the right people, but then giving them a reason to stay and contribute. And it's that simple. I realize it's not easy, but it is as simple as that. Attract the right people, give them a reason to stay, and empower them to do the job better than you did, and want to aspire to sit in your seat someday, because that's how you grow and that's how companies win.
Right. When I started this job, I started teaching one subject that I never taught before, and it was a challenge to me. So I thought this was pretty cool. This is challenging. I'll stay with it. I did so well at that one, they offered me a different class that I never taught before. And they said, here's a different boss. And as soon as I got this new boss, all he talked about was promoting me. As soon as he came in as my boss, I want to get you to the next level. I already seen what you did with the last thing. You can do this better, and you're going to be better for it, and we're going to get you there. And within a year, he promoted me to the next level, and now he's making me a senior instructor here soon. So just having him motivate me every time he talks to me, it's a motivational speech, basically. It's like having a Tony Robbins in my phone every time he calls me. Great.
And it's awesome for many reasons, but two of them are on the side of your leader or your manager, knowing that you didn't have past experience in that particular thing did not, dissuade him from giving the opportunity. And in fact, he focused more on making sure you felt confident to step into that role and to learn it and to do it really well, because he based it on your attitude and the fact that you were able to, embrace and really thrive in the last challenge he gave you. And so that's great. But on the flip side too, you didn't look at that and say, well, this is something I've never done before, therefore I'm going to turn down the opportunity. And too many employees, I beat up on leaders a lot in HR about, what they could be doing better. But let's pick out the employees for a second, because too many employees say, oh, that's a new experience and that's something that I've never done before, and therefore I'm going to shy away from it. You didn't do that. You said, you know what, here's an opportunity for me to expand, for me to grow, for me to challenge myself. Somebody yesterday referred to it as, constantly pushing ourselves to walk uphill. Right. So constantly challenging ourselves and growing, because doesn't it get boring after a while if you're just teaching the same course year after year that you can just do without even thinking about it? And your employees, or in your case,
so when I took over that class, like you said, I took it as challenge accepted, like How I Met Your Mother with Barney Stinson. Challenge accepted. You give me something, I'm going for it. I'm not going to fail, because I don't think I have that in my mentality. And I took that class. The second course I had to teach was it was a little more challenging. It was a little more technical. I just taught myself it. I went online. I took classes on it to make myself smarter, to sound smarter anyway, and to give me that breadth of knowledge so I can teach the soldiers and they'll be confident. And I go into the class and I don't even look at my slides. I just have them on behind me just as basically placeholders in case I do get held up or my brain stops for some reason because someone asks a question that throws me off. I can just look back and say, oh, yeah, here I was, and go. And I keep them energized. They're on the edge of their seats. My coworker, he's been teaching his so long, it's kind of like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's in there talking. He's like, anyone? Exactly. And he asked me how I get the engagement. I said, I'm not bored with my subject. Mine is evolving, so I have to know it all the time, and I'm excited about it. I don't think you're excited anymore. You need to move to a different class or find some new stuff for this one. And I don't know if he understood that well or not, or he took it right, but hopefully he did, and he's able to move on and get the soldiers off the tons of energy drinks in his classes.
And you just summed up what employee engagement is all about, and it's something that clearly you were manager understands, right, that the moment that you get bored or disillusioned or just like, you know what, I'm just kind of phoning it in at this point, you and anybody else, like it's just human nature. If I get to a point where in a job, all I do is show up and do the same thing day in and day out, and it's just, yeah, it's something that I can do, but like I'm putting only half energy and half effort into it anymore because I've been doing it so long, I could do it in my sleep. Well, you want consistency, but what you don't want is people that are unconscious, right? So like you totally just summed up employee engagement, because that's what we're striving for. You want in an organization that is jam-packed with people who are not all unfamiliar with what they're doing, but get energized to keep learning and to pushing the envelope and to, just sort of advancing. And I don't mean up a ladder, but I mean mentally. I mean, in terms of what they're contributing to the organization. If you create an environment like your manager is doing with you and saying, validating that what you've done to this point is great and it is contributing toward our mission, but now here's the next challenge and I want to see you step up because I know you can do it. If every leader and manager and supervisor in an organization dealt with their employees the way your manager is dealing with you, I guarantee you the return on that type of emotional investment is going to be huge.
Oh, definitely. That's exactly what goes on. And I know my coworker's manager, and I can tell the difference every day. I see the difference, and I just smile and wave, and I walk away because I can.
and you know what? And that's the issue too, right? Like you're talking about your coworker, where the two of you are kind of very different, and yeah, you're in different places in your life and all of that, but you also report to, it sounds like, two very different leaders. Your leader is not content with letting you get complacent, and neither are you. His leader is just fine with the, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality of management. Well, he's filling a need, he's plugging a hole, he's delivering something the same way he always did, and so if you do that, you're never going to grow. Yeah, you could get predictable results, but are they the best results you could get? Probably not.
Exactly. And I'm glad that what I have is what I have right now. It makes me happy every night. Every time I drive home, I'm smiling, so I'm good.
That's awesome.
So if someone wants to get in contact with you to hire you or to just see what you can provide them, do you just do New Jersey or do you do worldwide because of the great internet systems?
I do not do just New Jersey. In fact, the overwhelming majority of my clients are outside of New Jersey, and they don't mind my Jersey sassiness. And so so I'm worldwide. I'm mostly focused on the U.S. and Canada, but with the world that we're living in and the technology we've got available, there are no borders now anymore.
So it's basically the globalization came to light with the explosion of the internet, and I guess every app in the world that can get you around the world now, it kind of ties us all together as one giant neighborhood with different leaders.
Well, and not only that, but I mean, some of the challenges that we see in businesses in the U.S. are universal. So the language might be different, the structure of a company might be different, the way that you get from point A to point B might be a little bit different, but the same hurdles that businesses have to conquer to succeed, and the same hurdles between or sort of barriers between leaders and the people that they're trying to get to follow them are universal. The solutions are not one size fits all. We get that, but these challenges that people have in relating to each other are human challenges. They're not U.S. challenges.
Right. That's exactly right. And how would someone get in contact with you? Is it just through your website or social media?
Yeah, so the easiest way, and I'll kind of just make this direct invitation to your listeners. If any of what Rich and I have been talking about resonates with you, just, your phone is already in your hand. Just go up to your browser and just put in discoverywithclaire.com. That's going to take you right to my calendar page. and just book a call with me. There's no obligation. You're not going to get a sales pitch. Just let's spend 15 minutes. I want to get to know you a little bit better in your situation, and let's talk about it. So discoverywithclaire.com is the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Claire, thanks again for taking your time to come on and being flexible for me.
Yeah, no worries at all.
I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Sounds good.
That was great chatting with Claire. She gave us some amazing insight in developing of a great organization that also has an awesome culture to work in. Check out what she has to offer via her link in the show's notes. You know how we do this. Thanks for taking some of your time to spend with us on the Misfit Nation. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and share the link as much as possible. If you want to, please become a supporter to help us carry this on. We appreciate you. As always, till next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are the Misfit Nation.